watching the first lesson on 3D shapes. In this unit in math, we'll be focusing on how to calculate the surface area and the volume of 3D objects. In this first lesson, I would like to talk about how we perceive 3D objects, how we can look at them, and the different views that a 3D object can have depending on how you can look at them, from above, from the left, and even from the right, bottom, and so on. So, in this unit, we will be focusing on 3D objects. In previous years, you've talked about 2D objects, you talked about perimeter, you talked about area. Well, we're going to take this a step further and apply those concepts in three-dimensional space. Now, there are three shapes that you probably will need to know for sure. One of them is the triangular prism. The second one, the cube, cuboids, or rectangular prisms, and definitely the cylinder. I would say the cylinder is probably the hardest one to talk about and the hardest one to learn, so when we get to that lesson, I highly recommend you watch the videos and do the practice. So, why is being able to see different views of 3D shapes important? Why should we be able to understand that when you look at a 3D object, it's going to look different depending on how you're looking at it? Well, building spatial awareness is vital to jobs where knowing exactly how objects exist in space affect their function. Architects need to design and make blueprints on different buildings that they're designing. Fashion, you need to understand where things go on articles of clothing so that they feel comfortable. Physicists absolutely need to know how bodies in space move and how they look depending on how or where you're looking at them. So to start this unit, we're going to start off pretty easy. We'll be talking about how objects look different when viewed at different angles. So if we were to look at this rectangular prism, right, it's a prism, and we look at it from the front, well, from the front it just looks like that. From the back, the opposite side, it looks like that. And all the other sides look like this, right? That's pretty simple. But sometimes you can get compound shapes that look very different depending on the side you're looking at. So, practice on your own. What are the different views of this shape, right? Again, we're starting really easy and working our way up. So what different views do you see? Well, if you look at this guy from the front, you would see a triangle. From the back, same thing. And then on the left side, right? On the left side, you would see a rectangle. On the right side, you would also see a rectangle. On the bottom side, you'd also see a rectangle, but what about the top? What would you see there? Well, you would see this if you were looking directly at the top, right? And so, again, you would see different sides and different shapes depending on what and how you're looking at. So we'll try another one of these. Try this one on your own. And so, what about this? What about a weird shape? Well, what would the different views of this shape look like? Right? Well, if you're looking at it from the top, right, you probably see this, right? And then you'd probably see something going down like that, and like that, and then you'd see a rectangle coming down like that if you're looking at it from the top. Right? And so this is what it would look like from the top. But if you looked at it from the side, you would probably see something like this. Please forgive my horrendous art skills. Right? It would look like that. Right? Like that. And it would look like that. Right? If you're looking at it directly from the side. So the shape looks very different depending on where you're looking at. Sometimes you will get the views and have to draw the 3D shape, right? So if you're looking at this object from the top, left, bottom, and right, it looks basically the same, right? It's only one square across and 4 squares down. But if you look at it from the front and back, well, it looks like a staircase. So we would draw something like this if we were looking at it from the side, and it would be 3D. So we would have to draw this, right? And it would only be one block across. That was terrible, sorry. There we go. And so it would look something along these lines. And that's what the 3D object would look like, right? Using these different views, we're able to create an approximation of the 3D shape. So, which shape matches the different views? We got the top view of this, the right view, the front view, and the right view. Okay, well, if you're looking at this one, well, already you can cancel this out, because if you looked at this from the top, you would see that center square and only one square coming off the side. So that one you can cross out. Okay, well, when we're looking at this one, you can see that it goes 2 out. That's awesome. When you look down, it looks like this. When you look at the front, it looks like that. Right? So these two are most likely candidates for the figure that this is describing, right? But one thing to note is if you look carefully, there's no block in the back. Well, if there's no block in the back, it doesn't actually match this one. So it must be this one. So understanding spatial awareness, understanding that just because it's in the front doesn't mean it matches the back, allows us to eliminate likely answers. Right? You can see the different, the extra cubes in the back here, but you can't see them here. So again, another question we'll do together. You can do that one on your own. But overall, we will be looking at how 3D shapes look different depending on how you look at them. So we have a bit of a challenge question. A bee is on the corner of a cube with an edge of 1 centimeter. It walks along the edges in such a way that it touches each corner once. What is a path it could take? So I'm going to let you do this one on your own as it is a challenge question. And I want you to first draw a cube, right? Just as a bit of a hint, draw a cube. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then from there, draw a little bee, and draw a path along the sides to make sure that it touches each corner only once. And then draw that path. Afterwards, you can try these practice questions, which will help you understand spatial awareness and understand how shapes look differently depending on how you look at them. Hopefully this was useful, and I'll see you next lesson.